Taurus, your in-depth monthly forecast for July 2025 begins with your ruling planet Venus, very close to the restless energies of Uranus. Uranus has been with you full time since March 2019, and one of the biggest stories of this month is that Uranus is going to move forwards on the 7th for a 5-month vacation to the sign of Gemini. But Venus, your ruler, is going to lead the way, moving into the sign of Gemini on the 4th. This can be very good for your financial situation. If you're a creative, an innovator, or an entrepreneur, a dazzling idea you've got at the start of the month could turn into something quite tangible. But then again, if you've been working on something behind the scenes, you can start to get the return, especially if it is something that's a little different, because both Venus and Uranus are going to link with the mighty but tiny Pluto in your sector of worldly connection. And that link between Uranus and Pluto and back to Saturn and Neptune in a more muted part of your chart suggests what you've been doing behind the scenes can bring you a return. But also on the 4th, Neptune, the planet of dreams, which has been in your 12th house since the end of March and can be a potentially challenging energy, does go into a retrograde through to the 10th of December. The significance is that as much as Uranus and Venus move into a very constructive area, with Saturn also joining Neptune in a retrograde on the 13th, if there are any issues that are perhaps more psychological, more to do with your past, that aren't quite resolved, any loose ends that need tying up, particularly through to the end of August, this is the time to grapple with those things. But they may be rather delicate and might not necessarily be things that you're wanting to look at. So if there is something in your past history that was painful, difficult, to do with an accident, a rejection, a disappointment, you may feel that you've worked through that energy, but if you haven't, it will show up with these retrogrades, unfortunately. What you do have in your Astro Toolkit at the start of this month is a sensational link between the Sun in Cancer, very much about feelings, but for you, how you express them, but also Mars, the planet of desire but also action, in a terrific part of your chart in your sister air sign of Virgo, where it will be for the whole of this month. So you can see that we have got a number of different riders and horses shaping up in different parts of your situation. In terms of that Uranian and Venus energy, thinking outside the box could bring a surprise financial uptick, and that could happen as soon as the 7th. But even if it doesn't happen straight away, if you are wanting to work forwards on something that is more imaginative, even innovative, do believe in what you're trying to do. There could also be some key conversations that unfold from the 10th with the full moon in the sign of Capricorn. The Capricorn energy is where your higher purpose is going to show up. The Sun energy is about those quick fire communications. But with Mars giving you such support in the early part of this month, that may have given you added confidence if there is something you want to share with people. So why would Neptune and Saturn be such a potential challenge? Well, it's possible that if there's any inhibition deep within you, a slight lack of confidence, or perhaps you're feeling that you can't quite go for a target because you don't have as much as the experience or knowledge or qualification, try not to let any self-limiting thinking inhibit your progress, because if you do, it will have an impact, particularly with the Mercury retrograde from the 18th, also in a very emotional part of your scope. But the Sun bursts into its home on the 22nd, but does go face to face with the mighty but tiny Pluto, and that's threaded into the new moon of the 24th. That's a new moon if you are thinking about moving home, modifying where you're living, adapting things, working from home, it can be very helpful to you. What's not to like? It's just that Pluto suggests that someone around you may want in some way something from the situation that in a manner blunts what you feel is right for you. With Chiron also going retrograde on the 30th, if there is anything outstanding from your past, to be honest, that's a real opportunity. And through to the 2nd of January, you may find quite a lot of old issues being finally solved and released, which could be very therapeutic. But on the 31st, your ruler arrives in the sign of Cancer, which is terrific. Here, it's very much about the expression of feelings. Feelings for you works well because your sign is actually a place where the ruler of Cancer, the moon, is exalted. So the water is carried by your earth, so there's a good conductivity. But even so, with the sun in that 4th house, along with that Mercury retrograde coming into a cazimi as the month draws to a close, there may be some tender matters that do need to be talked over. Sometimes I feel that if you get frustrated because you feel that people are not perhaps as obliging or as available as you would be for them, that can see you speak more directly. There is a potential for that at the end of this month. So to summarise this July for you, Taurus, initially you can start off at quite a pace. There's also the chance for you to draw someone to you in a romantic context, particularly if you're single. But if you are wanting to do better financially, being more innovative and thinking outside the box can certainly help you. So the only thing that's going to stop your progress this month really is anything deep within you that stops you from really seizing the golden prize because you don't quite feel you're good enough. So it is going to be critically important to maintain your self-belief and confidence for the whole of July. If you'd like to work with me directly and have a particular issue that would benefit from a one-to-one, please see my testimonials below. But also with year 2025 absolutely racing by, you can order your year 2026 personal forecast now, and I'll give you in my special offer the rest of this year free. You'll also get 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, possibly the most important document any of us can ever read, helping us to understand the patterns that are playing out in our lives so far, getting a more intimate understanding of how to work with those energies, and together with the forecast, then timing our moves as best as possible for good outcomes in our situation. Please see the link below for more.